Dear viewers, welcome back to my YouTube channel, The World of Least Explored Phenomena. In this series, we are talking about the least explored field, that is parapsychology. Psychology we all know. Psychology is the study of human behavior when the perceptions are through normal five senses, that is hearing, seeing, tasting, smelling and touching. But when perception occurs without these five senses, the study of human behavior is parapsychology. It deals in telepathy, that is mind-to-mind connection, where perception is not through any of the five senses. Similarly, it deals with clairvoyance or remote viewing, that is seeing through mind's eyes. It deals with precognition, which is mind fetching the future events. And it deals with psychokinesis, which is mind influencing the matter. It also deals with survival issues, that is life after death. In this series, we have seen in the last few episodes the overview of parapsychology. Then we have gone through the research which has so far happened. The research which has so far happened has gone in to prove that the phenomena of telepathy, clairvoyance, precognition, psychokinesis are all real. That is, these are not the illusions or creations of mind. These happen and are real. The incidents are spontaneous and occur all over the world for all the time. And we have been witnessing these bizarre incidents where we are perplexed and we just are astonished and say, how could these happen? The research so far has centered, as I said, mainly on proving the realness or truthfulness of these incidents. We have not yet understood what factors lie behind them, how these manifest, and whether these can be made to happen as per our will and command. We had also witnessed in the last episode a fantasy where we assume that science has advanced and has gone to understand these phenomena, how these happen, and humans have mastered this skill. The imagined world, when all these capabilities are mastered by humans and they are able to produce it at will, has brought in a very interesting scenario which we all witnessed in the last video. In this video, we'll be carrying that fantasy forward, but before that, we'll be talking about the scenario of we'll be talking about death, which is a very fearful subject, and we will be discussing what most religions think about death, what are the philosophical views, and what are they thinking about life after death. And then we will assume that we have known scientifically the fact whether life exists or does not exist after death. And with that knowledge at our command, in scientific terms, how the world will change. That will be the basic topic about the next few few moments that you are going to be with me, and we'll be exploring all these things. It is a mystery till date that we do not know what happens after death. There are various theories floating around, there are very philosophical views, but Scientifically, we do not know because we live in a paradox which says that when the ticket is one way, how can you know about what happens after death? That is to say that when a person dies, he cannot come back and narrate to you what he witnessed after he was dead. We will not be seeking answers to this question, what happens after death, but we'll be only uh, sieving through the existing philosophical views, the religious views, and we'll also look into what are the theories floating around about the topic life after that. We'll take a cursory view of these religions, what they say about the life after death. In Hindu religion, we always talk about reincarnation. Reincarnation means that when you die, your soul keeps on wandering in search of a body, a new body, and during that time it wanders. We so to say perceive what we call apparitions or spirits, and we have after death communications. When the soul is able to find a body, the reincarnation happens. That is, we are born with a new name and new entity, new identity. And the reincarnation is the philosophy prevailing only in Hindu culture, whereas in other culture they talk about resurrection. Let's talk about the Christians. The Christians, when a person dies, they put it in a casket and they bury it. They do not destroy the body because their belief is that a day will come when they will come to life. The views of religions are that the views of these religions, especially the Muslims, Christians, or the Egyptians, they all believe that dead body should be preserved safely in a casket and buried. And in future, life will come back to these bodies and these bodies will be used. Christian view says that on the day of last judgment, it will be decided and a resurrection will happen. According to the Christian view, there is an individual judgment till the soul sleeps till the last judgment. For few days, it after death, the soul is sleeping, waiting for the last judgment. The resurrection of the good people happens when the God, when the last judgment is delivered, and the good souls, they have eternal life with God in heaven. The people who are not able to have eternal life with God, they do not have any resurrection and they suffer in hell. If we look at the Zoroastrian view, they have what we call Tower of Silence. In this tower, the dead bodies are left to decompose, and the vultures, eagles, and other preying birds, they uh, the body becomes a food to them. They believe that when the person dies, the body is very contaminated and they should not touch it. That's why they leave the body on a lonely tower of silence. After the death, for 3 nights, the soul wanders in anticipation of evaluation of their deeds. Archangels Bohmun and Mithra, they make the account of good or bad deeds which they have done in their previous lives. Angels of Mitra, they weigh the deeds on the fourth day after death. Their wise lord Ahura Mazda finds out whether the deeds are good or the deeds are not so good, and if the good outweighs the bad, then a bridge opens which is called bridge of requiter. The bridge of requiter has the passage wide enough for the soul to travel and walk through and go to the heaven. Whereas if the bad deeds outweigh the good deeds, the bridge narrows down and the entity is made to fall into hell. There is no reincarnation in the Zoroastrian view. Muslims, on the other hand, they preserve the dead body in a casket and they bury it. They feel that the God, the Allah, will one day give life to their body, and then on that day of judgment, they will come back to life. They will be resurrected. The soul waits in Barzakh till the time their fate for future is decided. Soul gets the book of deeds. There are two books. One is called the book of good deeds and the other is called book of bad deeds. If the good book of good deeds outweighs the book of bad deed, the soul attains life, eternal life in heaven. Whereas if the bad deeds outweigh the good deeds, they are condemned to hell, that is called Jahannam. In the Egyptians, they they preserve the body by taking a lot of pains by mummifying it. They believe that by mummifying, they can keep the body in the proper shape for hundreds and hundreds of years. On death, spirits enter Duat and pass on to the Hall of Truth after facing many challenges. And when they come to the Hall of Truth, they meet the Lord of the afterlife, that is Osiris. Osiris, before Osiris, they make negative confessions and lighten their heart. After confessions, person's heart is weighed against a feather from Maat, that is the goddess of truth and justice. If the person's heart weighs lighter, the eternal life in the field of reeds is granted to them. But if the deeds, if the heart weighs heavier than the feather, the soul is condemned and is eaten away and it ceases to exist as it is eaten away by a beast called Amit. In Hindu philosophy, we believe that we burn the body because body when a person dies is gone, but still person tends to live. The concept of soul is there in all the religions, but Hindu religions believe that as soon as a person dies, the soul is freed from the body and it keeps on wandering. And during the course of its wanderness, the soul tends to manifest before living people in form of apparitions, spirits, or what we call ghosts. And there is also life after death communications. Reincarnation is based on the past deeds, and soul is made to become purer and purer by searching a body based on their past deeds. It searches a body which is superior to the body which was in the earlier life. Each birth tends to purify the soul. Reincarnation, the purpose of reincarnation is for purifying the soul further and further. In cycle of life and death, life, death, life, birth, life, death, birth, life, death. In this cycle, each time the soul becomes purer. After the soul is purified and it becomes the best purified soul and no further purification is possible, it merges with God. This is what the Hindu philosophy means. There have been, these are all the philosophical views, and there are some theories which are floating around about what happens after we die. Parapsychology deals in all these theories, that is, the theories which call upon the facts which a human man can think of, with his own logic. Now, one theory says that humans are like machines, and as the machine breaks down and is scrapped, the body, when it dies, is scrapped and nothing whatsoever is left behind. There is no concept of soul. But then, how does it explain the manifestation of apparition spirits or ghosts? Or how do we perceive the communications which were only known to dead people? Now, this is explained by what we call super PSI theory. PSI is a term which signifies the telepathy, precognition, and remote viewing. Super PSI is a further quality or enhanced quality or capability of telepathy, remote viewing, and precognition. This theory believes that because of these capabilities with humans, they can get to the facts known to dead people through their capability of reading the minds of people. And this theory believes in that all the aspects of after death communications can be explained because people possess the capability of super PSI. Now, another theory which is there, it talks about the survival of soul, that is the Hindu philosophy or the philosophies of other religions. That is, all these theories come under the survival theory. Between the two, there is a theory which is a which is a in between path between these two theories, where the theory speaks that after death there is no soul, but there is something which remains, which they call knowledge. This knowledge outlives death, and this knowledge then goes and meets the absolute knowledge, which is God. This is a midway between the survival theory and super PSI theory. I have come out with another idea, or I am proposing a theory which is called uh, energy survival theory. Now, this I am using the concept of energy to describe what happens after we die. According to this theory, there are subtle bodies or subtle energies which are not visible, but they exist. We know that there are energies which are not visible, but they are known by their effects. Like we have wind energy. We do not see wind, but we are able to see its after effects. Same way, there is a subtle body which I called individual self energy form. This is an energy form which is unique to each living creature, whether it lives on this planet or the planets outside Earth, whether it is an insect or a human or an animal, it all of them have their unique ISEF, which is their unique identity. But when the ISEF, the ISEF, the energy form, which is a subtle energy form, which is invisible, transforms into living form, which is called SLEF, that is self-life energy form. At each birth, it takes a SLEF which goes on changing. Say, for example, in this life, I am Naresh Kumar. My SLEF is Naresh Kumar. But my actual identity is the subtle energy form ISEF, maybe we call it X. So X gets transformed at birth into Naresh Kumar. When I will die, my this energy form of SLEF Naresh Kumar will get transformed back into its original energy form, which is ISEF X. And these energy forms will go on transforming in a cyclic way. Once I die as Naresh Kumar and become ISEF X, that X may get transformed onto another self-life energy form, which is a living form in the form of Mary. Or maybe I may become an insect, or maybe I will be some aligned creature living on some other planet. But my unique identity ISEF X remains, but my SLEFs will go on changing. Now this diagrammatic picture explains what is the basis of my energy survival theory. Incidentally, I will try to point out that my theory is a corollary to Indian philosophy. In Indian philosophy, it is said that each person has a soul which is its unique identity, and the soul does not die. The soul only gets transformed. At death, it is something like that we change our clothes and wear new clothes. Same way, this soul wears a body, and that body, when it dies, comes back as a soul and then is reborn as a different body. Same way, I replace the soul with energy. Energy, as you know, cannot be destroyed. It only transforms. So does ISEF, which is a subtle energy form, invisible energy form, which which all the living people have their unique ISEF. And if you see the diagram, the upper blue web jelly has all the ISEFs. They are individual self-energy forms of different living people, living creatures, whether they are humans, insects, or other animals, or aliens living in other planets. These ISEFs are connected through a silver cord to SLEF, and at different times they reappear as a different person, different creature living in any planet, and the silver cord is the binding factor which makes the transformations possible. ISEF transforms to SLEF, and then again at death it transforms back to ISEF, then it takes another birth in the and is transformed to another SLEFs and so on. All the SLEFs are shown in the cylindrical picture given at the bottom of this diagram. This is the way the cycle of life, death goes on, and this is the theory which explains most of the things which humans observe. I think this theory gives some scientific footing to the theory of life after death. When we die, nothing remains, or maybe something remains. We do not know. But we are not going to uh, going for looking for the answer, because this answer is going to come a long way after a lot of research has happened, and then a day may come when we are knowledgeable scientifically with what happens after death. But what we can say is there can be only two scenarios. One scenario will be that we know scientifically that there is nothing after death. That we call scenario number one. And when science advances, maybe we will have another scenario which will establish scientifically no, life lives on and we survive our bodily death. Now in the next portion of this video, we are going on a fantasy journey where we know for certain that science has advanced and we have the answer. Answer could be scenario 1 or answer could be scenario 2. Let us see what will happen if scenario 1 is true. If scenario 1 is true, then how the world will change. We know for certain now that there is nothing left after we die. Body gone, we are gone. That is the scenario number 1. And we assume that science has established this scenario. In this particular scenario, what will happen? How the world will change? One thing is certain, that the apprehension about what happens after we die is gone. And now when this apprehension is gone, we are no longer ignorant about what happens after we die. Ignorance, as you know, breeds fear. So we are afraid at the moment in our current lives about death. But once we know for sure that there is nothing remaining after we die, and it is scientific fact that nothing remains after we die, there will be no fear of death, because there will be no apprehension about the knowledge about what happens after we die. Since there will be no apprehension, we will not be praying for a good afterlife. We will not no longer pray for afterlife. Life will become mechanical. We will not have any motivation for good deeds, so that we save ourselves from a bad life after we die. Life will be materialistic. How our morals will change? Morals will undergo a revolutionary change, because there will be no sense of good or evil. Whatever gives us pleasure is good, and whatever gives us pain is bad. The current morality or ethics will no longer be applicable, because the sense of good or evil, as we see now, will disappear. Good means seeking pleasure, bad means feeling pain. So there will be only these two factors which will be guiding us. Temples churches and mosques will be there, but those will not be having old people going to the temples and churches. Only young people will still go because they want to pray for their prosperity in the coming part of their life. Whereas the old people already know that they are nearing the end, so there is nothing to pray for. The people will be all looking for or seeking pleasure because that is the only guiding force. But the older people, with passage of time and because of aging, will have incapability of enjoying the pleasure and lust, but the crave for pleasure and lust will be maximum. The old people will be the worst sufferers then because they will seek pleasure but they will not be able to enjoy because of the poor capability of their bodies. What will happen in the society when we know for sure that nothing is remaining after we die, and hence the sense of good or evil will fade away. There will be no morality left. There will be the loss of morality will give rise to crimes. Crimes will increase because everybody will try to seek pleasure, whether it is affecting others, whether they use the unfair means. In the current parlance, what we call unfair will not remain unfair. Even if you have to hurt others who come in the way of your pleasure, you will not be afraid to do it or you will not hesitate to do it. So the crimes are certainly going to increase. The world is not going to be a safe place to live in when this realization is known scientifically that there is nothing after we die. Presently, religions give us an anchor. They are the guiding force. They bring discipline and direction to our life. But once we know for sure that there is nothing after death, the religions will have nothing to add to giving our discipline or giving a moral sense, and will become anchorless and will drift only in the direction of seeking pleasure. Cultures will be greatly impacted because the guiding force will be only pleasure or pain. There will be no morality left, and hence the world will not be a decent place or a comfortable place to live in. This we will see in this scenario a empathyless world where people will not be having any empathy for their other people. Their only motive will be how to seek pleasure. Concept of God will change. Living legends will be admired, but they will not be treated as God. But with passage of time, history will turn them into gods. We will all have conscience, but the conscience will not be guiding in the moral way. Conscience will be guiding us towards the path which takes us to pleasure. So the people will be selfish, they will be self-centered, and they will not hesitate to harm others once they those people come in the way of seeking their pleasures. So this scenario one seems to be a very, very, very pitiable scenario, and God forbid that science brings us this realization in scientific way. Let us look at the other scenario which talks about life after death. That is, we outlive death, we survive death, and suppose the science advances and we all are knowing that scientifically it is the truth comes out that you outlive death. You are still alive even after death. Maybe your body is gone, your physical capabilities are gone, but you are there. In this scenario, how the world will change. One thing which I said in previously also, ignorance breeds fear. Now, since we are no longer ignorant about what happens after we die, we know for sure that we shall outlive death. We shall outlive our physical bodily death. We will be still there. Will become very, very, very fearless. The society will be full of all fearless people who will be bolder with the assurance that there is a life continues even after their old age. Death will be taken then only as an extension of old age. That will be a phase of life. Now, as we currently have the different phases of life, beginning with an infant stage, infancy stage, we grow to a kid and then become a teenager. After teenager, we become a youth, and gradually we decline ourselves, our growth stops, and we go on the decaying path. We'll start losing our physical capabilities and attain the old age. Death will be extension of this phase, and the next phase will be loss of all physical capabilities, but your mental alertness will be there. So you will be alive. You will not be physically alive. You will not have physical capabilities. In the old age, you had lost many physical capabilities, but in this phase of life, after death, you will lose all physical capabilities, but you will still be alive and have mental faculties, only mental faculties. How the world will further undergo changes. Now, with this belief turning into a reality that life continues after death, there will be more stability in our living. There will be more urge to do noble deeds so that we can improve the stage of life after death. We can we will be able to tempted to or motivated to do good deeds. Morality will be there, and there will be strong will to do noble things, and all people will be engaged in doing noble things so that their last phase of life, that is life after death, is prosperous and enriched. Death will be faced with lot of confidence. There will be no bereavement. Bereavement is a word which is used to denote grief, pain, and sadness when we lose a loved one. But we shall not be losing any loved one because they will be passing through adulthood to old age to a life after death. This will be only an extension of our life. So, since we are not losing anyone, there will hardly be any bereavement. People will not bereave death. Their core of religion, as we know, is the belief in afterlife. The belief becomes a known fact and a reality. It will greatly boost all the religious movements. People will become very, very religious. People will pray, but not for continued prosperity and happiness, but they will pray for a very good stage of life which comes after we die. We will not pray for going to heaven because heaven does not exist, but we will be praying from core of our hearts to attain a good enriched and prosperous life after we die. All other aspects of life will remain same. Now only the the thing which was a belief that we can live after death will become a reality and a certainty. Now these are the facts which will happen once we know for sure that life continues after death. In both these scenarios, one thing is common, that this knowledge clearing the ignorance will make the people fearless and bolder. Our societies will agree and will propagate the idea there is nothing to be afraid of death, because in either of these scenarios we know for certain what is going to happen. In the second scenario, we take it as an extension or extended phase of our continued life, and will not be surprised or will not be afraid to meet death. We will face death in very certain and bolder way. There will be no trauma after death. We will not be will not be afraid to meet death. There will be no rituals which will be performed in either of these scenarios, because in the first scenario, when everybody knows that there is nothing remaining, what for they should perform the rituals. And in the second scenario, rituals are redundant because the person is still there. So what for they perform the rituals? There will be no bereavement, there will be no rituals. The religions and cultures will certainly get affected in both the scenarios, but the intensity of impact will be different, as we have seen throughout the last discussions. The same holds for our truth or faith in God. It will undergo changes. Will we will undergo changes in our thinking. So this is how the world will change when we know for certain how the things are going to take shape after we know for sure in scientific way as to what happens after we die. Both the scenarios have their own revolutions which will be brought by the knowledge of what happens after we die. In the last two videos, we had discussed the parapsychological topic life after death, which is the least explored phenomenon, is discussed in this topic. It is least explored because we do not know, we cannot come back and tell what is going to happen. The ticket is one way. We did not explore the what happens after death in this video, but explored the world scenario when the secrets of what happens after we die are scientifically known. We know for sure whether we outlive death, how the world will get impacted after we die is the essence of this video. So much so for this video. Now we shall be continuing our pursuit of exploring the least explored, and the next topic which I take for exploration is the workplace management for budding managers and entrepreneurs. I hope you have enjoyed the fantasy. In the next video, we shall take up the topic which is most relevant to the young generation coming out of college. As you know, our colleges make experts in different fields, but they hardly gives us a knowledge or tips as to how to perform at workplace. It is like when we pass out from the college and enter into the workplace arena, it is like an infant thrown into troubled waters and asked to swim. The workplace management is not taught in the universities. You do not know how to deal with people. At workplace, you have to deal with people, conflicts arise, and there is a race for leadership, lot of competition, lot of ambition classes. People are not machines, and there are no ready-made buttons that you press and get the desired result. So when you enter into the workplace from the college, you are groping for finding solutions for the challenges which come in your way. This topic is also least explored. I'll be touching upon this topic and exploring it through with the help of whatever experience I have of over 45 years working at senior positions in different organizations. I shall be giving you, giving the young people many tips which they if follow, they will be able to swim better in the troubled waters of workplace. Please await my next video, which will be certainly helpful to the young generation. In this video, I talked about death. I have written a book which talks about what happens when and after we die. If, if there are inquisitive people among the audience, and if they want to know more about this topic, they can get this book from Amazon and Flipkart where the book is selling. Please wait for my next video which I'll be posting very soon and will be helping the young generation for performing best in their workplace. Please wait for my next episode. Thank you for listening to me patiently and please wait for my next video. Thank you all.